Hey guys, Log here, and welcome to the last these type of videos related to multiverses, the skin showcase. I know I'm doing it a little bit early because at the moment we still have a month left until multiverses officially comes to an end, which I'll go into that later on because there's some of the stuff I want to do with this game before it officially ends, but uh, admittedly I am doing the skins bit a bit too early, but that's probably because I think at this rate, I'm hoping to be wrong. I'm hoping to be proven wrong on this aspect. Maybe later on they'll actually add some new stuff into this, but ever since 2 weeks ago with the last mid-season update that Multiverses was given, I have this feeling that the skins that we have been given from the turn out the season before it ends is our last bunch. And I think for the next month, nothing new will drop when multiverses for skins because, well, I might as well just go and show it. Season 5 obviously came out with the rifts, obviously, but much like with the end of Season 4, they had rogue rifts, which allows you to get skins for characters as well as some other stuff if you constantly grind on it. Uh, and it seemed like, okay, we had the rifts, that was our one chance to get the skins. Let's hope that the next batch of rifts would add new skins. Turns out, no. The rest of the season, with the last bit of rifts that we do have the exact same skins from like a month ago. Like for example, right now, for the last 2 days, we can get one of the skins for Nubia here right now, which was the same thing when the season launched, when season 5 began. And then we have another one for Raven, which is coming out in 2 days, meaning for the next 2 weeks you have the chance to get this costume for Raven. And say in 2 weeks time, then we have the Harley Quinn skin that will drop as well that you can get another chance to get. And then finally, in 4 weeks, the last few weeks of Multiverses will give you the chance to get a Samurai Jack skin. As well, there is the Enter the Arena stuff, which contains a new costume for certain characters. In this case, Agent Smith, Rick, Wonder Woman, and Jason. So I get this feeling that basically this is kind of it. This is really it with multiverses in terms of new content at this moment. I'm hoping to be wrong. I'm hoping to be wrong when it comes to skins, at least. If so, I'm willing to make another video down the line. But I get this feeling that this is it, especially since, well, no shocker for some, but Player First Games has officially been shut down by Warner Brothers, meaning that basically until the game ends and the offline version of Multiverses goes up for any players who do care about Multiverses, um, that's kind of it, really. This is about the last bit of new content we got from Player First Games until they were closed from Warner Brothers. So, yeah, that's the one thing. It is very frustrating that that has happened as well. Like, I'll get into more of that later on because I got some videos planned for that later to go really deep in that. But at least for now, I'm just doing all the skins that have been added to multiverses, as well as the skins that were supposed to drop, or at least stuff that was unreleased, despite having either like a full render made or even some footage of it actually existing in the game for a while back. Like there's one with Tom and Jerry, which I can clearly tell was planned from like the beginning, but it never came out. So I don't know. We'll get into that later on, but for now, let's just look through every single character and see who did get the final skins before Multiverses officially comes to an end. We start off with Agent Smith, who only had one new costume added throughout the season, which is the Valentine Virus Agent Smith. So he got involved with the Valentine Neon stuff as well. But that's all the Agent Smith currently has, and as I showed there, it was a part of the arena mode price track. So basically, if you don't get it within the next 2 days at the time this video is recorded, that's it. You won't get this chance to get this costume. But yeah, generally that does mean leave off Agent Smith with 10 additional skins added to out MultiVersus, with only one that would actually kind of be from the Matrix with this Cyber Smith costume. Everything else with the character has been a recurring theme that all characters generally share. I mean, in fairness, Agent Smith does look cool with all of them, in fairness. But I feel like they could have been a little bit more. Hell, you could have been a bit more creative and make new looks for Agent Smith that would fit with the Matrix, universe either way. But still, 10 skins for Agent Smith, and outside of an epic and legendary, he still got some exclusive variants as well as a few rares and uncommons. So Agent Smith wasn't doing too bad, honestly. Next up is Aquaman, who's one of our last two new characters added to the game, and he currently has, at least from my perspective, he has the least amount of costumes added to the game in general, where we have only Old Arthur Warbearer, which is a part of the Battle Pass, which every player should be able to get if you get that far into it, as well as his Valentinian outfit, the Heart of the Ocean Aquaman. Now, I technically say, from my perspective, I get two skins, because obviously, like with Samurai Jack, Powerpuff Girls, and Raven, Aquaman was given a ranked skins, which for the first half of the season you could get, but unlike the other ranked seasons where you usually had to wait until the season ends to then get the rewards, you had to actually, once you get past a certain quota, like you got gold, platinum, silver, whatever, all that stuff, you would actually be given the skin straight away. You didn't have to wait until it ends to then get the costume. So I'm sure for Aquaman players, especially mains, who did get that far into ranked, I'm sure like Aquaman has 7 skins, basically. But from my perspective, as someone who hasn't played ranked and never really did, from my point of view, Aquaman only has 2 skins, and it makes him the least amount of skins out of all the characters in the game at the moment. And more likely it will be, because I think Aquaman was planned to have more costumes planned later. I think just one simply hasn't been, like, shaved, basically. But that's about it in terms of Aquaman. So, again, he has the least amount in the game. From my perspective, though, with the ranks skins, he would have more. Next up is Arya, who, interestingly, is one of those interesting cases because technically, by the looks of things, she didn't get anything new throughout the season. However, when the mid-season update dropped, suddenly 2 skins appeared within Arya's lineup, and that is, really enough, her Mystic Venza outfit. Back when Season 4 came out, there was a whole riff themed around this like anime high school setting. And characters like Velma, Joker, Batman, Wonder Woman, Taz, Raven were all given a bunch of skins. One would be like a high school equivalent outfit, and then another one was their like transformation outfits. And in the footage, probably I'll show on the screen right here, Arya actually was supposed to have skins like that, but never happened. But when the mid-season for this season dropped, suddenly Arya had these costumes. The player model, preview image didn't show the skins, but the models themselves were completely finished. Animations, all that stuff was done and dusted. And then a day later, the skins were removed. So I think that was a mistake on Player First Games' part, and Warner Brothers kind of caught on quickly and got rid of it. So yeah, Arya was meant to have more, but even then, Arya still had one unreleased costume, which I don't know the name of, but I'll show the model on screen at this moment here. Yeah, so Arya was meant to have another costume as well. I think the Season 2 open beta actually showed off the skin and the image. So this is another one of those skins that was supposed to come out a while ago, but Warner Brothers or Player First Games, more likely Warner Brothers being themselves, for some reason did not release it. Weird, I know, but it is what it is, unfortunately. But in fairness, Arya still didn't do too bad with her skins, in fairness. You know, she also had like 11 skins added to the game. You know, I think compared to some other, close alpha characters, she didn't do too bad. You know, she had one legendary, two epics, about three rares, which at least, two of them from are based on the Game of Thrones series, and then five uncommons. So Arya still did well enough, all considering, as it is, with her skins. But again, released with the one unreleased skin and then the two, you know, the Mystic Finza outfits that were just added randomly and then delisted just as quickly. You know, it showed that Arya had a lot more planned. Next up is Banana Guard, who only got one new costume added during that season, which was a part of the Battle Pass, and that being the Banana Guard in pajamas. Banana Guard is such a bizarre character when you really look into him, where, basically the player first, like, I think Tony, the main head of player first games, wanted him in the game. And because I think there was a rumor that he was only made, like, they had the model, obviously, from the open beta days, back when he was an NPC character. But then when it came to the relaunch, they thought it'd be funny to add this character as a playable character, and then only took a week for his moveset to be finished. Now, I don't know much about game designing, especially for fighting games, but I feel like a character shouldn't really take a week to figure out their moveset, to be honest. That's just from my perspective. But, Banana Guard, when you really consider it, he still had some pretty alright character skins, in fairness. Like, he had four rares and five uncommons, so he had like 9 skins in the game. And it's kind of those things where Banana Guard was, when you pick a character that is like Banana Guard, a minor character at least, and give him like moves and costumes, I think it's going to be a lot limited to what they be able to do with a character in terms of his costumes. But they still did well enough with what they could do with the character. Like, I don't know why. Like, my favorite skin with the character was the Marvin the Martian Banana Guard costume. Like, because why not? It's funny to think you can pick this character with Marvin the Martian. And at least in fairness, because of how simple Banana Guard is, at least you can easily tell the difference between certain skins of his compared to other characters. Batman, surprisingly, did not get anything at all during that season 5, which I know by the looks of this, it's not like Batman was starving for new skins, but I would have at least thought for the final season of MultiVersus, they would give Batman one last new costume, considering how popular he is in MultiVersus. But no, he didn't get anything at all. But again, just judging by the looks of things, Batman wasn't hungry for skins. Like, he had like he's the only character in the game that has like 3 exclusive outfits, but as well like 4 legendaries, 1 epic. But then you get everything else, like you got 2 rare costumes and about 7 uncommons. Like, Batman was easily one of the more expensive characters to buy skins for in MultiVersus, especially when you consider that when you have the 2 exclusives as well to consider, and how back then you need a certain currency to actually get these skins, with a good amount of them requiring you to get Galenium to do it, it made Batman one of the most expensive characters, which I guess is fitting for a playboy, like a billionaire, like Bruce Wayne. At least a playboy, honestly. A billionaire character like Bruce Wayne and Batman. It's like, yeah, the most expensive, like the most richest character in the DC comics. Also is the most expensive character in MultiVersus. But still, Batman had enough variety with his costumes, in fairness. I don't think there was any unreleased costumes for the character, as far as I know. So Batman at least had all his majority of his costumes released anyway. Beetlejuice is up next, and he also got nothing throughout season 5. But if it wasn't for Aquaman, not counting the rank skins, I think Beetlejuice would have probably been like the second least amount of costumes added for a character. Like, he only had like 5 costumes here, and I'd say only one of them is actually based off the Beetlejuice movies, with this one, which is from the second film. But then you get like, he got his Christmas stuff, and he had his 3 uncommon variants. And again, I love Beetlejuice. Like, he's one of my mains, but I feel like they could have done a lot more with this character in terms of costumes. Like, either from the 2 movies that we have, or hell, go even deeper, go with the animated series. But I think they were plans more based off the show's design with Beetlejuice than the movies at first. But more likely, Warner Brothers tell them, hey, we got a movie coming out. Let's base the design off, obviously the movies. I think still Beetlejuice has an alright like lineup of costumes, but definitely could have been given a lot more when you really consider how popular this character is. Next up is Black Adam, who also similarly to Batman, I'm surprised they did not include any new costumes with him. I mean, again, much like Batman, it's not like Black Adam was hungry for new skins either. When you look at how many costumes this character did had, with like 12 costumes. But it's one of those things where given how popular, how frequently he was given skins, like once a season, skins. I'm surprised they didn't give him one more last skin before it ended, but he still did well enough with 1 legendary, 1 epic, 4 rares, and 6 uncommons. But obviously his legendary being, the rock version of the character from the movies. So, I'd still say Black Adam still did well enough, which is, for a character like Black Adam, who hasn't been as popular compared to some other DC characters in this game. The fact he's given as many costumes as he was is really impressive, and at least, for, at least a few costumes, it was based on the DC material, like 4 of them, like for the films, and then you got the comics, with the good version of Black Adam, from what I get, and then you get his comic book design character, and then I guess the origin story one. I don't know. I heard there's like the origin story look he was given in the comics, though. I just see it I just see it as Black Adam having a beach themed outfit, like some other characters in MultiVersus did. But he still did well enough, when you really think about it. Next up is Bugs Bunny, who also didn't get anything at all throughout season 5, which is shocking. But again, much like with Batman, it's not like Bugs was running out of costumes anyway with the amount he has. Like, just look at how many costumes he was given here. And a good amount, like, in terms of the vanity of it. He was given 4 epics, 5 rares, and then, like, 7 uncommons. Bugs was doing really well. Like, the only thing was missing was a legendary costume. I'm surprised they didn't do that with Bugs. Or hell, even gave him an exclusive outfit. But Bugs definitely had the most variety, and probably in terms of actually using a lot of the Looney Tunes, material with his costumes. He had his original costumes in fairness, but compared to some other characters, he definitely got a lot of uses from the actual Looney Tunes shorts and movies over the nearly 100 years. Which, given this is Bugs Bunny, the mascot of Warner Brothers, it's not shocking to see that. But, Bugs, he had a lot of good costumes. Even if he didn't get anything throughout the season, he still was given a lot of new costumes, good costumes throughout the entirety of the game's lifespan. And I don't think there was any unreleased costumes with Bugs Bunny as well. So he did very well when you really consider it. Next up is Finn, who also didn't get anything at all throughout season 5, but Finn still did well enough. Like, I think out of all the Adventure Time characters in this game, obviously Finn was given the most amount, and also basing it off the Adventure Time series. Like, yeah, we got Fern, the alternate character from the series. And here, he got his one epic with the baseball fin, which actually does have his robotic hand. I think that's at least what I'm getting from it there. But everything else with Finn has been based off the show. Like, all his wares have all been based off certain episodes of Adventure Time. And even the one uncommon outfit, the pajamas, has been commonly been shown in Adventure Time. So Finn still did extremely well with all his costumes when you look into them here. And I think out of all the Adventure Time characters, he still did well out of all of them. And I don't think he had any I don't think he had any unreleased costumes too. So he did well enough for MultiVersus. Next up is Garnet, who also did not get anything at all throughout season 5, though she was supposed to. There was a video clip for season 5 that showed that Garnet was wearing this certain outfit. I don't know, it's based off the show anyway, I know that much, but because I don't watch much of Steven Universe, I don't know the exact design or name for this costume, which is shown on screen. But she was supposed to give a costume throughout season 5, but again, no player first games, no costume. But again, Garnet still did well enough. Like, the only thing that was missing was a legendary costume for her, and even her exclusive outfit isn't really much to talk about when it's just a, Plat Fighter Championship t-shirt, much like what Batman and some other characters did. But Garnet still did extremely well when you really consider it, especially compared to Steven in terms of outfits, basing it off the many stuff with Steven Universe. Like, I want to say outside of the Valentine neon outfit, everything with Garnet, from the wares to the epic, were all based on something from Steven Universe. So she did extremely well with what she was given throughout MultiVersus lifetime. So she had one really unreleased skin, but still, Garnet still did well enough. Next up is Gizmo, who similarly to Garnet was supposed to be given a new costume, which wasn't shown in any like gameplay videos, but from if we're going by full leaks now, Gizmo was supposed to be given a snowman themed outfit later throughout the season. But again, what happened? What happened? So Gizmo, when you really look at it, Gizmo still did well enough when he had like 10 costumes. And a few decent ones based on the actual, Gremlins movies. But a lot of it simply goes down with the Gremlins characters in general, where Gizmo and Stripe really did share the exact same costume type of priorities with each other. Except for now, this season, when I get into Stripe in a few minutes. But, Gizmo still did well enough when he had, like, two epics, one rare, and 7 uncommons. He wasn't that expensive of a character compared to, like, Batman or Black Adam or Bugs Bunny, or especially Garnet. So Gizmo still did well enough when you consider it. Harley Quinn was given one last new costume throughout the season with the DC Bombshells Harley Quinn, and by looks of things, Harley was not hungry at all in terms of her costumes. Like, look at the amount she has alone here. Like, I want to say she has up to 20 skins, probably having the most amount. Like, even Batman didn't even get this many. And much like with Batman, she too had her exclusive outfit with the Dr. Quinzel outfit, as well as her Plat Fighter t-shirt variant. I'm surprised she wasn't given a legendary on top of all this. Because look at the epics. She has 6 epic variants right here. And one of them is like the same as the Beach Bash one, just with the 4th of July paint all over it. I suppose that, with Harley Quinn still being a fairly popular character within DC Comics, it's not surprising that she's been given as many different looks over the 3 years. And again, she had a good amount that's actually based off the comics, like the Earth Zero version. Matt loved Harley Quinn. Again, the DC Bombshells one, as I mentioned before, and of course the Task Force X Harley Quinn. So she was given a lot of costumes that's from certain material based off the DC Comics over the years with this character. And some costumes definitely still took off in popularity. Like, despite how simple it looks, the Friday the 13th Harley Quinn costume did give people like, you know, some ideas with the character now. Like, Dude Masters, he has made a whole entire like thing between her and Jason because of MultiVersus now, because of this specific skin. So, even the most simplistic skins can take off and, have some fun ideas with people. So Harley Quinn was definitely given a lot of costumes, so she definitely was given a lot of love by Player First Games. Iron Giant similarly did not get anything new with Season 5, but for a character who only appeared in one movie, not counting like cameos and stuff like that, Iron Giant really did well with his costumes. Now, a lot of it was original costumes. Like, none of these costumes were actually been shown in the Iron Giant, the movie. But look at how many costumes he generally was able to get. You know, he was able to get one exclusive, two epics, one rares, and about 7 uncommons. That's still fairly impressive for a character who only had like one film. And he's the only character that has like a variant that is like standard for him. Like, this is the only one that's given 2 versions of the same character by default. It's just now you get the giant S off his chest. That's the only real significant change between the two. So Iron Giant still did extremely well in MultiVersus. For only having one movie and a bunch of cameos, and also given its poor treatment with Warner Brothers back when the film was released. So Iron Giant still did extremely well with MultiVersus. Next up is Jake, who also did not get anything at all turn out Season 5, so he continues to have a losing streak, because I recall he didn't get anything at all turn out Season 4 either. But again, Jake, despite the having not as many costumes compared to Finn, he still did keep what worked with Finn, is that he had a lot of costumes that was based on, Adventure Time. Obviously, we have 2 versions of Cake, which I think the Cocoa Cake could have been removed altogether, because it's just the exact same thing with Cake, just that her fur is different. But everything else with Jake is done well. Like, he has 2 legendaries, 2... Like, he's kind of evenly out outside the uncommons. He has 2 legendaries, 2 epics, 2 rares, and 5 uncommons. I think Jake's uncommons outside of, the Matrix coding outfit and the Afterlife Beetle, the Afterlife Jake costume, I think all the other uncommon costumes with Jake are kind of weak. Like his Batman 85 costume. The Shark Hat's generally always been like the weakest costume for a lot of characters, as well as the Tuniverse variant, which, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I got every single Tuniverse outfit now, thanks to my Gleamium, which I'll get into that much later on in a different video, but thanks to it, I was finally able to get all the Tuniverse variants for the characters, because I only previously got Tom and Jerry with theirs, because I'm a Tom and Jerry main. But at least now, every character in the game, at least the ones who were given a Tuniverse variant, they all finally got it now in this game from me, so there's that for those characters. Next up is Jason Voorhees, who is one of those characters that still did well with the season, as he got 2 new costumes added to the game, with the Jason Goes to Hell outfit, which again, given the game currently repeating itself, you could still get a chance of getting this costume for Jason if you complete the arena prize track in about, I want to say, when Mad Jack comes out in about 4 weeks' time. So you can still get this chance to get this costume for Jason. But as well, he also got the ugliest Cupid Jason, which gives Jason the Valentine Dean outfit. So Jason still did well, though he was supposed to get another costume, as the gameplay trailers, again, like I said, showed off that he also got a Freddy versus Jason themed outfit, which is funny enough, which one of the rifts that you can encounter, I think that's in the horror themed rift, I think, coming up next, does actually have a fight against the Freddy versus Jason, which even funny enough was renamed to remove Freddy's name off the title because obviously then people got excited because does that mean Freddy's in this game? Obviously Freddy Krueger for those who don't know. So yeah, it's a case again. I would have wanted the skin, but again, I'm hoping to be wrong. Maybe they might release it, but given the nature of how it seems like the game's ending on, it seems impossible. But I'm sure with the new MultiVersus fan continuations that are coming out, like the MultiVersus Infinity community, they'll probably add a way to get this costume for players out there. But Jason did extremely well in MultiVersus later on. Like he kind of was a bit slow, like within the first 2 seasons. But I think like around season 3 to 4, that was when Jason was given a bit more love in terms of costumes. And he had all the 5 main varieties. He had his exclusive outfit with the abominable mountain tier. We had this one legendary from Jason X. Now 2 costumes with the epic variant. We still got the Freddy Goes to Hell, representation in here, which is surprising. We would have gone at least Freddy vs. Jason, but we generally still got the main Warner Brothers films of the Friday the 13th represented in this game here, and we still had original costumes with Jason, like a thin version of Jason, where I would have never thought I would see the day that these 2 franchises mixing together, but here we are. And everything else with Jason works well. Like I generally think like as out of odd placed Jason is with MultiVersus when you consider how many kid-friendly franchises are in this game. I really think MultiVersus has handled Jason extremely well with how they're able to use the character well within the age limit of being the 12 plus while keeping the character to what he is while having fun with him too. Like, yeah, we never thought we'd see Jason built like a brick like this. But it's fun. It actually was fun to play as Jason, and I will legit I would call myself a Jason main as well. And Jason still did alright with skins, and he at least got two more before MultiVersus officially ended. Hopefully the third one comes out, but I wouldn't hold my breath on it. But at least we would have known Jason Kate went out swinging with 3 costumes for MultiVersus. Next up is LeBron James, who similarly, as for the last few seasons, he didn't get anything at all, which, much like with Season 4, I think it just simply came down to the fact that they're out of ideas with LeBron James. Like, all his rare costumes are all based on his appearances in just Space Jam 2. Everything else from the uncommons have been exclusive to MultiVersus, and even then, it's not even a unique variant for him. It's just a theme that all characters generally had. So, LeBron still did well enough when he has like 9 costumes in here. And again, 4 of it's based off just one film. So, in terms of representation, he's done better compared to Agent Smith and Iron Giant on that matter. But, still, I think they did alright with LeBron James in terms of his costumes in general. We have, in terms of variants, he's definitely cheaper compared to other characters, but still did well enough when you take a real-life person and then made a fictional version of them for a fighting game. Next up is our last new major character added to the game, Lola Bunny, who also, much like Rick Garnett, Jason, and a few other characters, she too has a skin that was supposed to come out that has been added in the game throughout the whiffs, like with the Freddy vs. Jason outfit, but on the way things are going, we may not get that. But Lola still did extremely better compared to Aquaman, where she got four major costumes with Lights Out, which is I believe from the Rabbit series, or later rebranded as the new Looney Tunes for season two. So cool to have some of that representation with this character. But then we typically have like the standard stuff for Lola. Like we have her Valentine neon outfit with the Queen of the Court. But then we also get like with Bugs Bunny, Taz, and Marvin. She too comes with her Toon Squad variants, which is based on the '96 version, and then finally the 2021 new Legacy version. We've also would have gotten a cat burglar theme outfit for Lola, which you could still see in the Rift mode. One of the Rifts is anyway. But lo and behold, another one of those skins that we may not get after all this, so hooray, hooray for that. But still, Lola, for a last major new character added to the game, she still did well enough with four major skins added. So, at least, for Lola, they went out swinging with her anyway. Next up is Marceline, who disappointingly only got one new costume added throughout the season, with her Valentine neon theme outfit, PJ's Choice, which is fitting for Marceline in fairness. But if it wasn't for that, like she has only four costumes added to the game. And in fairness, she got three that's based on Adventure Time, so she's still doing that, she's doing that, much like with Finn and Jake. But if it was like she's probably I'd say having the second least amount of costumes in the game. Hell, if you count Aquaman's ranked skins, too, she probably would have been. She's like tied with Lola. We're having like the second, like either the least amount of costumes added to the game, or the second least if we're just ignoring the ranked skins with Aquaman. Which is kind of disappointing for Marceline, being the most wanted character and all, but it is what it is, unfortunately. I don't think there was any like news or any info that on any costume she would have gotten if the game continued, but for what it's worth, Marceline still did well enough that she got, three skins that's based on Adventure Time itself, and then you got one unique costume with her. She still did well enough. Next up is Marvin, who unfortunately, like again with Season 4, he was not given any new costumes at all, which is disappointing coming out of a Marvin main. But Marvin still did decently well. Like, he also was a bit cheaper in terms of skin variety. Like, he only had like 5 epics and 6 uncommons. And at least outside of his Valentine neon outfit, like, the rest of Marvin's outfits have all been based on something with Looney Tunes. The Golfer and the Commander X2, all from Duck Dodgers, which is I'm glad to have any form of representation of that show at any point. And then we had his Toon Squad variants. And in fairness, I think outside of maybe the Shark Hat and like the Tooniverse variant, Marvin still had a good amount of uncommon skins that made him stand out. So as disappointing as it was that we got nothing with Marvin throughout Season 5 and nothing beyond epic, legendary, and exclusive with the character, Marvin still did fairly well with 11 skins, so he still did good. Next up is Morty, who after the last 2 seasons gave him absolutely nothing. MultiVersus finally decided to give him 2 more skins before it officially ends, giving him speaking too fast, Spacesuit Morty, and finally Restaurant Morty, which, again, the Spacesuit Morty just gives us now a 3rd Evil Morty skin. Like, now we can have, like, a legendary version of Evil Morty, and, epic variant, and now an rare variant. I'm surprised they didn't find a way to just shove just the eye patch on its own, and count that as an uncommon variant for Morty. Just to give all like the major variant types an Evil Morty. Like I said, after how like the last 2 seasons gave Morty absolutely nothing, at least it's nice that the game finally gives him, two major skins here, and again, besides the three evil Maurices now, he was finally given some rare costumes too, which still looks good for the character. So he still did well enough that he got at least four of the major variant types outside of exclusive. And at least, outside of, the X icon Morty, all the stuff with Morty from Legendary to Rare has all been based off Rick and Morty, the show. So at least Morty has that going for him. Still looking like he got 10 skins, so at least Morty was able to get to a double digit with his skin amount. So Morty did well. Last up is Nubia, who only got one new costume added with the Love Warrior Nubia, which again, as I showcased in the beginning of the video, you only got this for the Rifts mode, and by the time this probably comes out, I'm pretty sure not many players will be able to get this costume by now, if you haven't gotten it already from like when the season began and when the mid-season dropped. Still though, Nubia has been kind of a weird mark in MultiVersus for me, but she still did well enough. Like, she has the same amount of costumes as Beetlejuice has, so she has 5. And she didn't get anything with the legendary side of things, but she still did well enough that she got an exclusive, an epic, 2 rares, and 1 uncommon. So, Nubia still did well enough, considering the character's history and the unfamiliarity with the character compared to Black Adam, where at least he had a movie coming out and could use that for like publicity. This was simply coming down to MultiVersus wanting to add a character who hasn't been represented, which isn't the problem, but I think when you have some other characters that have more genuine hype and popularity compared to Nubia, I think her getting in here while those weren't is why people kind of have a problem with Nubia, even if some people do like how she plays. I personally don't, but people have been able to do some insane stuff with Nubia, so despite the odd choice, some people legit love the character, so that's the one major thing. And again, she will at least given one last costume before the game ends, so she has that going for her. Next up is Raven, who, compared to Marceline, was given a lot more as costumes in comparison to Marceline. But it's again much like with some characters like Rick Garnet, Jason, Lola, where she was meant to have a lot more, as well as Gizmo, where she was going to get one new costume as well, but never came out. Now, she got 2 new costumes throughout the season, with the Amicor Raven, again, I don't know how to pronounce that, which is just the evil version of Raven, but as well she's been given the new 52 Raven. She would have also gotten this new costume as well. I don't know the name of it, which is shown on screen right now. So Raven would have been given one last new costume as well, but again, hold short. But again, Raven still did well enough when you look at it. Like, she has like 1 exclusive, 3 epics, and 2 rares. Like, she didn't get a legendary, but she's one of those characters that also didn't get any uncommon costumes too. So Raven still did fairly well on terms like representing, the DC stuff. She had like 4 skins that I'd say is probably, I'd say technically it's 3 with this one, the new 52, and then you got the classic White Raven costume. But I want to say like the Rule Breaker Raven, like there was like that. I've seen some like designs or art that's featured Raven more like a typical high school setting type of look with her and the other Teen Titans. So I would say this is like kind of close enough to basing it off that design while taking its own liberties with the design. But Raven still got 6 skins, so she still did well enough, especially compared to Marceline. She would have had 7 if the last one came out. Again, I'm hoping to be wrong, maybe later down the line, but given how it is, I'd say this is about as good as Raven gets in terms of costume customizations anyway. Surprisingly enough, Rain Dog did not get anything at all, which again, it's, it's going to be a weird thing with Rain Dog because, yeah, this is the only thing we're ever going to see Rain Dog in. Like, I don't think we'll ever see Warner Brothers actually using this character at all in the future. So Rain Dog's existence just literally dies once this game comes to an end, fully when the online support ends. Uh, and again, it's not like Rain Dog was hungry for skins. Like, he was generally given like a skin almost every season in general. Like, look, he has like six epics, six rares, and seven uncommons. Like, I'm surprised they didn't pull out a legendary or an exclusive outfit for the character. But again, I kind of think in this way it showed off that Player First Games had confidence with this character. Like, they really liked this character to begin with, that he was given as much as he did. I think, actually, now I think about it, there was one unreleased costume with the character, which he has like an Easter themed outfit. That's the only Rain Dog skin that has not been released. But again, given just how many costumes this character generally got, I don't think he was really hungry. I don't think he was really missing out on skins, to be honest. For an original character, I'd say this is impressive that Player First Games thought up as many ideas as they did with this character. It's just the circumstances and the Warner Brothers part of things that makes this funny, where obviously, the outside of those who are dedicated to MultiVersus and the community, I don't think Warner Brothers is going to do anything with this character, and all these cool looks with Rain Dog is just going to be left behind as only for the passionate of either Rain Dog fans or MultiVersus fans. Next up is Rick, who, did well enough that he got one last costume during the season, and a legendary costume for that, with the Rick and Two Crows. Uh, you know, yeah, it's kind of weird with Rick because generally he shares the exact same thing with Morty, where he had like a few costumes that is teamed off Rick and Morty and having some original costumes, but I feel like with Rick they could really have pushed it a bit further in terms of basing off costumes of Rick from the show. Like, we have the concept of Rick and Morty being, you know, the Rick Citadel. Like, the Rick Citadel, like, obviously being a thing. There was so many opportunities they could have given, like, with costumes based off for Rick and Morty, based on just that concept alone. And first, like, we had Steel Tail Rick, we got the mech suit. Rick Prime is a weird exception where, yeah, it is still another version of Rick, but when you really consider the context behind the character and his backstory with the normal Rick, I feel like MultiVersus kind of mishandled that part a little bit. Like, there was a reason why people were kind of complaining about his role in the game and how generally it was different from the show in a lot of areas. I still think, like, generally the look of Rick Prime, they got down. It was obviously just the characterization-wise that was definitely off. But, Rick was at least able to get one last new costume for the season. Well, not two like Morty. At least he was able to get a legendary costume before the game ended. But of course, we know that there was the Pickle Rick. A skin for the character that was, like, a long way. Like, it's surprising we didn't get Pickle Rick at all. In fact, I think there have been some leaked clips that showed off this skin exactly in its gameplay. So again, this is another skin that MultiVersus had laying about, and now will never see the light of day unless you're in the MultiVersus Infinity group, basically. But Rick still did well enough. Like, I think maybe they could have pushed it a bit more, basing off skins from the show in here, but for what we did get with Rick from the show, I think they still did well enough with his variants. Next up is Samurai Jack, who, at least, again, he did extremely well as he has 3 costumes added throughout the season, with Mad Jack, who is the evil version of Samurai Jack. So, we finally got this version, which does actually have new voice lines. Originally, when the skin dropped at the first half and the end of the first half of season 5, it didn't have any new alternate lines for this costume for Samurai Jack, despite the subtitles clearly showing that there was more lines with him. But ever since then, Warner Bros. Has cut out like the mid-season patch did add the voice lines. So at least they were finally able to give that for Mad Jack. But he also got the Ultra Robot Killer Samurai Jack, which is a part of the Battle Pass. And finally, we got his Valentine Neon outfit with Smitten Samurai Jack. So, Samurai Jack did extremely well. Like, I think they still could have done a little bit more skin that's based off Samurai Jack. They could have used, like, of course, the Wave outfit he wore, as well as the gangster Samurai Jack. There was still a few skins that would have been good to add. But generally, with what they were able to get away with, Samurai Jack was still good. Having a good mix as well from the Cartoon Network era, obviously from seasons 1 to 4, to the Adult Swim season 5 era, when we got like Lost Jack and the Righteous Warrior Samurai Jack. But we had everything from the Cartoon Network era. Like we had the Mad Jack, we have his Ultra Robot Killer, where Samurai Jack, was able to get away with a little bit of blood, but not too much in terms of like scratches Samurai Jack would get. And he still got at least 2 legendaries, 3 epics, 1 rare, and 3 uncommons. So, while on the rare side of things, Samurai Jack might have been lacking, every other like skin variety has done well with the character. Next up, we have Shaggy, which, given how Shaggy has always been like the main character behind MultiVersus, it's not surprising to learn that at least for the final season, they gave him 3 new costumes. First off, we got the Fancy Shaggy, which I want to say is slightly based off the second live-action Scooby-Doo movie from like the 2000s, with Matthew Lillard as playing a Shaggy. It kind of looks similar to it. We also got the Sleepless Shaggy, which is the only in-game model of Scooby-Doo we get to see in this game. I still don't get how Scooby didn't end up in this game at all, to be honest. Especially when we had the MultiVersus comics coming out, which had Scooby as one of the main characters. So I don't know why the dog never came out. And this singular skin is the only thing with Scooby we get to see with Shaggy slippers. And finally get the Tombla Tussle Shaggy, which this skin has always been fascinating to me because from the looks of it, you can tell obviously that this was meant to be an exclusive outfit for Shaggy, since Agent Smith, Nubia, Jason, Iron Giant, all 4 of those characters had a winter ice themed skin for their exclusives. But then here comes Shaggy, who was supposed to have it, but for whatever reason they decided not to release it at the end of season 4, and instead gave it as a battle pass skin. And much like with some other Shaggy skins, for some reason this has its own unique intro animation and stuff like that, where you could have easily see that it was meant to be exclusive. Still though, Shaggy, considering he's the main character behind MultiVersus, basically, he still did very well in terms of costume. Like, surprisingly, he only had like 1 legendary and 1 epic variant, no exclusive, but the wares, I think he has like 10 rare costumes in this game. So Shaggy definitely, like, even the Matrix coding costume, which like it costed is like uncommon, only 500 Gleamium. Suddenly it was given out as a rare costume despite costing 500 Gleamium. So it's a weird thing, especially when Shaggy was given this weird decision where he had his Batman 85 themed outfits, which had him with a yellow shirt, but then later on it was randomly giving him a black shirt on top of that. But later on, I think near the end of season 3, MultiVersus decided to just split the two costumes together, where now you could have a choice of either the yellow t-shirt or the black t-shirt. But I think it's still a cool idea they did at least thought of, instead of just, wasting it. So yeah, Shaggy still did extremely well with MultiVersus in terms of costumes and basically being the main character behind MultiVersus in general. Next up is Steven, who did not get anything at all added throughout Season 5, though much like regarded, he was supposed to get one last costume, and that would have been also a cowboy-themed outfit like Morty got. But Steven still did relatively well. Like, he definitely favored on the uncommon, Ground with 8 uncommon skins, and like 1 rare and then 2 epics. And then again, there's like the epics to the rares, obviously uses from the Steven Universe show itself. And then you get like also like with the pajama themed skin outfit for Finn. He was also one of the few characters that got an uncommon skin that was based on the show, and that's of course Coach Steven. Generally, Steven still did well enough with what he was given that's from based on the Steven Universe show. I feel like they could have pushed it a little bit more. Like, there was only about 4 skins out of like the lot that's based on the show, but he still did fairly well enough when you really look at it. Next up is Stripe, who also kind of improved a little bit by having 2 skins added throughout the season, with the main one being the Brain Gremlin as part of the Battle Pass, which gives Stripe another character from the Gremlins movies to play as, and honestly, picking the Brain Gremlin out of all of them was obviously the smarter choice, given how it actually spoke full dialogue, full English. But as well, we also got the Permafrost Stripe, which this was where I was going, where Gizmo would have had a similar skin like this. But Stripe actually gets to keep this one to himself. Stripe is kind of weird with his costume because I like the look of all of Stripe's looks. But again, there was this weird connection where if Stripe was going to have a skin, Gizmo was going to have it. Or if Gizmo was going to get a skin, Stripe was going to have that too. And considering the only, 2 epic costumes for the character, Brain Gremlin made sense. Like, we have seen this character from, the Gremlins too. But then, Combat Stripe, I don't think I've seen Stripe actually wearing it in any of the films at all. It's just simply to go with Gizmo's combat outfit, and that's it. So that was the main thing. Stripe had generally a lot of costumes that Gizmo also shared, too. So, as cool as they look on Stripe, you could easily tell that, if one of the Gremlins was going to get it, the other one was going to get it afterwards. But I don't think there's any been unreleased costumes with Stripe too, I don't think. So, Stripe still did fairly well in MultiVersus when you only have 2 movies and a very limited stuff across the franchise. So Stripe did well. Next up is Superman, who only had 1 new costume added throughout the season, and that is the DC Bombshell Superman. This is the only thing the character got, and in fairness, again, Superman wasn't really a character that was running out of skins anyway, when you have his 1 exclusive, 2 legendaries, 5 epics, 4 rares, and about 6 uncommons. All I know is that Superman did have a unplanned skin, which is based off the old Fetchers cartoons from Paramount Pictures, obviously around the 1940s era, the old hand-drawn animations. That was supposed to drop at some point, but lo and behold, that never happened. So, that's what it is. But I would have probably seen it would have been a legendary or an exclusive outfit for Superman anyway. But, Superman still did extremely well, basing off certain comics. With a character like Superman, who's so iconic, it's no shock to see how many costumes would be based off the actual DC comics, while having him be a lot of the original stuff with MultiVersus too. So Superman definitely had a lot. Though I think he has more than Batman, I think, but really Harley Quinn has more than him as well. So I think out of maybe all the DC comic characters, Superman probably has the second most amount out of all the characters. So Superman did extremely well in multiverses. Next up is Taz, who, after having a strong start with season 4, with having 2 new costumes, Taz at least comes out with one last new costume added to the game, that being the Date Night Taz. But also, much like some other characters, he too was meant to have one last costume as well, and that being this artist-themed outfit as well. But again, as I said before, multiverses, player first games, Warner Bros. Like, nah, we won't add it. No, Taz still did well enough. Like, I think maybe out of all the Looney Tunes characters, I think he didn't have as much, looks that was actually from the Looney Tunes cartoons compared to Bogues and Marvin. Like only Lola is an exception because she's fairly newer. Like she doesn't have as many appearances in the Looney Tunes beyond Space Jam and like in a few Looney Tunes stuff like the Looney Tunes show and Rabbit. So Lola doesn't have as many looks to really pull off from, but Taz, Taz still did well enough. Like, we had one exclusive, 2 epics, 4 rares, and 6 uncommons. He still did well enough. I'm surprised they didn't do a legendary costume with Taz, but as it is, Taz still did extremely well with the new looks, especially when he had the Beachcomber Taz, which again gave him an uncommon skin that wasn't a shared skin compared to others. I don't think Taz had any unreleased skins, so Taz was perfectly fine with his costume as a mount. Next up is the Joker, who, much like before, he didn't get any at all during Season 5, which is shocking considering just how many skins he was given, and how Season 4 basically gave him a new skin every 2 weeks, apart from, like, the very last, event of the season. Like, Joker wasn't really doing too bad. I think he's definitely favored more in the uncommon variants, when he has, I want to say, 8 uncommon variants. But everything else with the character beyond, the Tricon possessed, Joker and of course, the Mystic Fenza outfits, he still did well enough that was based off the actual DC comics. Of course, we have the Batman Who Laughs. It was probably still one of my favorite Joker skins, and it was cool to hear Roger Craig Smith do, some lines with Joker in this. We still had the Justice League animated series version, the Killing Joke, and the Christmas with the Joker. We had a decent amount of ranges from across the DC Comics library with the character. I don't think there was any unreleased skins with the Joker, too, so he still did extremely well with what he was given. And given how this will be the final time we'll get to hear Mark Hamill perform as the Joker, too, it's kind of more it's sad that this will be the last time we get to hear his voice with the Joker, but a fitting way too, because it's such an iconic role, and again, Kevin Conroy's Batman was in this too, so as fortunate as it is, at least the two finally got to do what they do best together, even if multiverses won't be around anymore. But hey, at least there'll still be all those YouTube videos of the compilations of their voice lines together, so they'll still live on together anyway. Next up is the Powerpuff Girls, who Next up is the Powerpuff Girls, who also was given 2 new skins throughout the season, which I kind of found surprising that the Powerpuff Girls got that many before it ended, but at least now the girls were given something. The first one is the Pretty in Pink Powerpuff Girls, so they got their Valentine neon look, which, in fairness for the Powerpuff Girls, it looks really good on them, seeing all the black go with the pinks, and of course Blossom getting the most attention from the Pretty in Pink Valentine neon stuff. But we also get the sunshine. We also get the Sunshine Squad outfit, which gave the Powerpuff Girls a bit of a summer themed outfit. Bubbles doesn't really look like she really changed much beyond just the floaties. While Blossom has like the inflatable band and the change of her clothes. Well, Buttercup definitely got the biggest amount after like wearing a swimsuit. But again, the Powerpuff Girls still did well enough. Like, sure, they didn't get anything in the epic or exclusive types, but they still got something. You know, of course, we got their legendary with the Rowdy Bell Boys. I think a choice that makes the most sense to do. They're uncommon. Their wares outside of the pretty and pink one. Pick some iconic looks from the girls over the years, mainly from the '90s series. At least they had one decent uncommon outfit with their Day in the Dead outfit. I'm not much of a fan of their Batman 85 team outfits like with Jake's, because there's not that much really. Like, at least if they changed them to have a bit more of a yellow outfit instead, it would have been different. But it is what it is, unfortunately. But the Powerpuff Girls still did extremely well with their costumes. Well, not that many costume picks for them. They still did well enough, all considering. Next up is Tom and Jerry, who unfortunately, which hurts me as a Tom and Jerry main for the 3 years, they got absolutely nothing from that season 5 at all. And the one costume that was planned for the duo, the Texas Tom and Jerry outfit, never came out. Come on, guys. We saw the open beta trailer had clearly shown the costume was ready and up and running. Why you had not released it? Oh. Oh, well, despite that though, I still think Tom and Jerry were given an extremely good hand with their skins. You know, given how they have been out there as long as the Looney Tunes had, they've definitely been gotten some good picks. That's based off the many Tom and Jerry stuff over the decades. We have them from the TV films, like with the Sherlock Holmes one. We had like one of the Gene did shorts with the karate, chaos stuff. We got some from obviously the Hanna-Barbera shorts, like the Seaside outfit and the tennis outfit. Stuff we've seen from the Hanna-Barbera MGM shorts. But we have gotten a good amount of skins that's from the 2014 for the show as well, like the detectives Tom and Jerry, as well as their vampire outfits. As well, direct to DVD as well. Like again, we have the pirates outfit from the Shirley Timbers direct to DVD movie. I think their epics are really the best Tom and Jerry really looks with their original like cyberpunk themed outfit, but as well having the the Joker and Batman mix up is like my favorite skin with the duo. Like I've seen some merch that has done this thing with the Batman the Joker with Tom as Batman and Jerry as the Joker, but this is my I think out of all of those, this is my favorite version of this particular mashup between Tom and Jerry and Batman. So I calmly always switch the skin whenever I get a chance to. But again, Tom and Jerry, still did fairly well. Like this is probably the best use of the duo in the Warner Brothers era with the duo for a long time. Because it really feels like after the 2010s, Tom and Jerry didn't get as much attention or love from Warner Brothers compared to the Looney Tunes or Scooby-Doo. But MultiVersus, the best usage of the duo in a long time, and I'm hopeful for the future as well with that new theatrical Tom and Jerry movie that's coming out. But for now, MultiVersus did extremely well with Tom and Jerry. Next up is Velma, who also, like with Batman and a few other characters, I'm surprised was not given one last new costume before the season ends. As far as I know, I don't think she was given any unreleased skins too, so Velma, as far as we know, has been given everything she was. And she's kind of a similar thing with Shaggy, where obviously she has a lot of costumes, but she may have one thing over Shaggy where she has her Mystic Fencer, she has exclusive outfits, but everything else has been kind of common between the two. They have the one Legendary, they have the one Epics, they have lot of wares. I'd say Shaggy has more wares than Velma, but it still doesn't take away that Velma has like 8 rare costumes as well on top of 8 uncommons. Like, MultiVersus really loved Velma in particular a lot of the time. So again, that's kind of why it's surprising she wasn't given anything at all during out the season. But, she still did extremely well, with what she was given during now MultiVersus lifetime. And finally, our last character to talk about, and that being with Wonder Woman, who was given one last new costume with her DC Bombshells outfit. So at least Wonder Woman was able to go out with one last new costume as well, which, much like with the Jason Goes to Hell outfit and the Wake of Two Crows, you will be able to get the skin in about a few weeks if you are able to get it. If you haven't gotten it already or you want to get it before MultiVersus ends, this is your best chance of doing it. But again, Wonder Woman still did fairly well. Not as much as Superman or Batman, especially the Joker or Harley Quinn, but Wonder Woman still did extremely well with her outfits. She got one exclusive outfit, she got 2 legendaries, about 4 wares, 2 so here's how it's that. Wonder Woman still did extremely well when you really consider it. Like, obviously not as much as Batman or Superman, or especially Harley Quinn, but she still definitely got a lot of love during our MultiVersus with 1 exclusive, 2 legendaries, 4 epics, 2 rares, and now 7 uncommons. She did still extremely well. I don't think she was given any unreleased skins like in the beta thing. So from what info we got, I don't think she has any unreleased skins. So Wonder Woman still did extremely well, and with that officially comes to a close with the skin showcase with MultiVersus. That's every single skin that MultiVersus had. So honestly, I think the clear winners of MultiVersus, like in terms of just costume amount, the clear winner for a lot of them is simply like Batman. Batman got a lot. Black Adam too got a decent amount too. Bugs definitely. Like, I think the main winners here, like obviously Velma, like she's really close to having like 21 skins, but she just still got like 20 skins in the game. Shaggy has like 21 altogether here, so he has like 21 skins, like 14 each. Let's say 20, I think. He still did a lot. Samurai Jack got pretty close to Wayne Dog. Obviously I think is still the main king. I think generally Shaggy and Velma beat his amount of costumes in the game now, but he still did a lot. Same goes with Superman. He definitely got a lot during out the season as well. The whole game in general. Joker did extremely well too, as well as Tom and Jerry as well. But if I had to say, like, honestly, I think out of all the characters, I think generally Harley Quinn, Shaggy, and Velma probably did the best amount of all the characters. Rain Dog, Superman, Batman, they pretty close. With the big losers out of the game, probably being Aquaman, again, not counting the Rift, the Arena skins, probably, but again, he has like the least amount in the game at the moment. It's like he really did not get anything during out the game beyond the rank skins. Beetlejuice got a little short too, as well as Marceline. I think generally, if I had to say who did the worst, I think it's Beetlejuice, Marceline, and Nubia usually got the least amount beyond Aquaman. They're like only 5 to 4 skins each, depending on the character. Lola, I gave an excuse because, like, Lola and Marceline are pretty close tie with having 4 skins each. So I arguably say they have like the second least amount of costumes added to MultiVersus. If the Cat Burglar outfit would have dropped with Lola, I think then that made Marceline have like the second least amount of costumes in the game. And then like around the third would be Beetlejuice, Lola, and then Nubia. But Still, that's about it. Now, I say all of this because, well, I make these videos just to show off like what these characters were given, because the main thing about the skins is that, you know, when the game goes offline, and for those who are able to play MultiVersus offline in the future with the local play and stuff, the characters themselves, like all 35 characters, will be able to be unlocked. You'll be able to play as every single character regardless if you got them now or not. It's the skins where it all depends on the player. And in my case, well, I think I have everything. I have every single skin in MultiVersus beyond the ranked skins. So again, characters such as with like Nubia, Samurai Jack, the Powerpuff Girls, and Raven, as well as Aquaman. These five characters. Wait, Nubia? Oh, why did I say Nubia? Did I say Nubia? I don't know. Obviously, like the rank skins are obviously where I am not gotten with these characters, like Aquaman, Raven, Samurai Jack, and the Powerpuff Girls. They're the only ranked, skins I won't have. Like the rank skins, I won't have those. I'm too late with that, and I'm willing to accept that. Like I still like just judging from all the skins I showed off here. I spent a lot of MultiVersus as it is. And I'm kind of running out of things to say. I've spoken for too long. Can you tell I am doing this improv with no script? If I'm just constantly just, gibbering or just not saying what I want to say. I still think like every character was done well with their skins. Like obviously some had a bit more potential than others. And I think some of them were a little bit wasted. Like I say, Rick was a little bit wasted in terms of his costumes. LeBlanc was going to be limited down the line anyway, considering just, we're only focusing on one version of a real life person from an animated live action hybrid film. Because the thing is, like, some characters had more potential. Like obviously, Agent Smith was a little limited because you only had like technically 4 films, really, and Agent Smith doesn't really have much changes per film. Aquaman definitely had a lot of potential because of, DC Comics being as long as it has, but given the game's nature, it was a bit limited. Arya had a bit more potential, even though I haven't watched much of Game of Thrones, I'd say she had a lot of potential. Banana Guard, again, probably limited because of he's being a minor character, but I'd say they did well enough with him. Batman, obviously he's been around for so long, so Batman was never going to run out of costumes. Beetlejuice is kind of another one where I'd say he was a bit wasted in terms of costumes, so I think they could have picked a bit more from the films or the animated show, but he still did alright enough. Black Adam, I may be unfamiliar with the character, but he has been around for decades, so he would have had a lot of costumes to pick from. Bugs Bunny obviously had a lot of costumes, and I think they picked a majority of his iconic looks. But there was still a lot more where Bugs you could have picked. Finn and Jake basically, put them together. They still had a lot of looks over the series, and I think they did a good job picking a majority of the costumes from Adventure Time. Garnet still did extremely well too, still a lot of looks with her too that you could have picked off, but she did well. Gizmo was a bit limited. Like Gizmo and Stripe definitely got a limited amount of screen time across, like the decades. Like we're only getting now news of a third Gremlins movie being in the works from Warner Brothers. So they definitely were given a limited amount of costumes, but they still did well enough with the Gremlins. All like Harley Quinn did fantastic in MultiVersus, and likewise, she would have still had like hundreds of costumes she could have picked for this game. The Iron Giant really did extremely well when you consider he only had like one movie to his name. Jason did well too when you consider that they could only really use about 4 films from like the 12 Friday the 13th movies because of four of them being owned by Warner Brothers, and then 8 were owned by Paramount Pictures, so they still did well enough with Jason in terms of all his costumes. Lola, I still think they did well enough considering she doesn't have as much appearances in the Looney Tunes, or at least not as many different looks. Especially when you consider people like either the sexy, you know, Lola that we're showing right now here from Space Jam, or like the actual Looney side of the character from the Looney Tunes show, like from like the early 2010s. So when you pick the one that is more, I'm just going to say that it is more towards a furry demographic, basically. I think it's a bit limited with what they could have done with that version of Lola compared to the Wacky one, but they still did well enough with her. Marceline, again, I feel like she was kind of a bit wasted in terms of her costumes, but, you know, she still had a majority of her costumes be from the show. Marvin, similarly, I think they could have done a little bit more, but they did well enough for what he was able to do. Rick and Morty, again, I think both characters you could have picked a lot more looks across the different dimensions that Rick and Morty go into, but they still did well enough with a majority of their costumes. Again, Morty's one of those funny ones where he has like 3 costumes for Evil Morty, which is funny to really think about, but he still did well enough. Nubia, I'm in the complete dark with the character, so I don't know. Like, I'd say there were probably decades of material you could have used with Nubia, with MultiVersus probably, but I'm just that unfamiliar with the character that I wouldn't imagine what I could think of with her. Raven, they did well enough with her. Obviously with Raven, she has so many different versions. With obviously the main 2 popular versions of the character being the 2003 Teen Titans animated show, and for better or for worse, obviously Teen Titans Go has been extremely popular. So Raven had a lot of different looks to use for. Samurai Jack, I think, did well enough with his skins. There were still a few you could have picked from the Cartoon Network era, like I said previously, that you could have used with the Samurai Jack, but he still did extremely well. Shaggy, for a character like Shaggy, who's been around for 50 or nearly 60 years, they did extremely well with his costume picks. Obviously, with Shaggy, they definitely leaned more towards obviously the Ultra Instinct, Shaggy memes. So I would have liked the playset with Shaggy to be a bit more on his actual carrotless aspect, or the food loving aspect of Shaggy from Scooby Doo. But they still did extremely well with his costumes. Steven, I think, could have been given a little bit more towards from the show, but for what we did get from the show, he still did extremely well. And Superman, as iconic of a character like he is, there was bound to be a lot more looks with the character if MultiVersus lasted a bit longer. Taz, I kind of feel like it's in this weird pit where you could have done a bit more with Taz with his costumes, but there's not really much you can really pull from him, to be honest. I mean, Taz is iconic, sure, but he kind of came later in the golden age of the Looney Tunes, so, like with Marvin. So there wasn't as many looks you could have pulled from. It's just that Marvin has a bit more of a stronger personality than Taz, that Marvin could have been used a bit more compared to him, but Taz was still given a good amount of stuff in the game. Joker, like I said, with Batman, Superman, Harley Quinn, given how iconic he is, there still would have been, God knows how many costumes you could have picked for him in MultiVersus. The Powerpuff Girls, if we're slowly sticking to, the 90s show, I think they could have still pulled a little bit more looks for the girls, but even then, you could have put some stuff from the 2016 show and just give it to the 90s models. Obviously, the less cringy memes and looks probably would have been better, than focusing on that. But, the Powerpuff Girls, they still given a lot. Tom and Jerry obviously would have been given a lot more looks, too. they were still such an iconic duo. They have been around for literally 85 years now, so the duo would have been given a lot more looks you could pull from either the MGM shorts to even the other shorts, TV shows, movies. There's still a lot you could have pulled with Tom and Jerry, but as a Tom and Jerry main, I'm still satisfied with what they were given. Same thing with Shaggy. Velma was given, a lot of looks, and there's still a lot more you could have pulled from the actual Scooby-Doo shows and movies over the decades. But Velma did extremely well, and again, Wonder Woman, there was still a lot of looks you could have pulled from the DC Comics and movies and shows and games and other stuff that Wonder Woman would have just been given as much different looks. So yeah, I kind of rambled on there a bit at the end, but it's just because this will be the last time I will be doing a video like this with Multiverses. Uh, I just kind of wanted to show off all I got and just kind of appreciate that, that I do have everything beyond the rank skins for like Power of Gold, Samurai Jack, Raven, and Aquaman. Hey, I'm hoping to be wrong on the skins I've talked about that either been unreleased or haven't came out yet, like with the Jay singles, the Freddy vs. Jason outfit, the Lola Bunny stuff, the Tom and Jerry Texas outfit, the Cowboy Steven, the Queen Garnet, or whatever that was. I'm hoping to be wrong that maybe they might be added at some point during the game's final month. But if it's not, and that is what we've been given, well, at least y'all had a look on all the character skins at the moment. So, at this time before Multiverse ends. So I want to thank you all for watching these videos, and thank you for looking through this massive amount of costumes I've gotten over the 3 years of Multiverse's launch. In terms of Multiverse's content in the future, I am planning to do the gameplay video for Wonder Woman, so that will be coming out probably in April as well at some point. But that's not all I'll be working on. As you noticed, there's the account cosmetics. I'll be going through every single one of these as well for a separate video. So yeah, I will be going into these as well in the future, as well with the fact that I didn't get to talk about the emotes that all the characters also share too. So I will be doing that at some point as well. And in terms of game modes, I will be doing one last video with all the major game modes this game has, from the 2v2s, the 1v1s, the Wacky Weekends video, and then later on the free-for-all battles. I'll be doing all of those, like at least one last major video for the main 4 core game modes, and probably do one last video of the arena as well before calling it quits with Multiverses, as well as doing a ranked video as well for all the characters, because I didn't get to do that when Season 4 ended, because, well, with the game suddenly ending, I figured to save my general ranking video until Aquaman or Lola comes out, so that will happen at some point in May as well. So yeah, that's kind of it for Multiverses at the moment. That's my plans with this game until it ends in about a month's time. So until then, I'll see you guys until my next video. See you all later.